Hello and welcome to Mabinda TV. This is the Daily Show KE where I look at the top issues in Kenya, Africa and around the world. So for now, it's about that is our celebrities faking their lives. Of course, you also the story of Azad Nasenya. She is making good money on social media as a social media influencer, as a brand influencer. She is making good money, but why is it that she is deep in debt? So is a brand influencing really a career that someone should follow? Of course, Azad Nasenya came to the limelight through TikTok. Remember, the Utawezana song is what brought Azad Nasenya to the limelight. So basically, Azad Nasenya is now is also a radio presenter at Sound City. I think it's an urban radio station. Of course, I've often talked about the death of urban radio, as you have people basically streaming music, you have people basically just going online and getting their favorite songs. So radio is no longer the viable path to getting the latest songs. It is not radio anymore. People can stream through Spotify. They can't stream through Boomplay, and so I think urban radio. So I think she earned good money, maybe even 400,000 shillings at Sound City. So then let's say she got one or two mega brand deals every month. So that's another 400,000 shillings. Then maybe she got a corporate MC job, another 400,000. So that's 1.2 million. So how is it that someone that is earning 1.2 million falls deep in debt? This is what we should be asking for. How is someone that is earning 1.2 million shillings a month falling deep in debt? I think the idea is that even that 1.2 million per month is living. If you go and live beyond your means, you want to be seen in the latest Mercedes Benz, you want to be in Dubai all the time. It has its limits. 1.2 million is very a small change when you want to globetrot the world, and maybe that's what Azad Nasenya is suffering from. She wanted to globetrot the world, and then she realized that money. The story is that she borrowed Mungai Eve at least 400,000 shillings, but she never returned. So basically, is brand influencing a career path that someone should follow, because you have to maintain a certain lifestyle. That's just it. You have to maintain a certain lifestyle, and for Azad Nasenya, it was about clocking in millions, but she has to look the part. She has to look the part. Remember, Instagram is about selling us seven-figure lifestyle. That's the whole purpose of Instagram, so that we can keep on scrolling. If you want to make content, then TikTok will make you content, but on Instagram is all about putting our best foot forward. No one puts their bad days on Instagram. No one puts their bad days. No one puts that they bargain for something and they never could afford. No one puts those things on Instagram. Everyone is just putting their best foot forward, and that's why mental health is an issue in today's generation, because you get all this pressure from social media influencers to excel, to be able to do certain things, and then of course you just get all that pressure. So for Azad Nasenya, she maybe wanted to be that influencer that globetrots the world, maybe the likes of Miss Trudy or maybe Wodemaya. Those are the people I know, Africans I know, that globetrot the world. Basically, she wanted to be seen to be doing well, but that is not the case. And I think this Instagram, I think it is going to spoil our youth. Basically, social media is going to spoil our youth if they are going to compare their lifestyle with others that are doing well on the internet, on social media. Because remember, social media is all about putting your best foot forward. So that did not happen, and so basically, she was earning 1.2 million per month, but then she went in debt. Basically, she visits Germany to see her mother. I think her mother works in Germany. So I think yes, being a brand influencer is good. Maybe you could sign up a deal or two, and maybe that's why there is not much advertising pie to go around for mainstream media, because now you have all these brand influencers that are taking all that money. So that is the story of Azad Nasenya. That is the story of Azad Nasenya. And whether you think that is whether I think she is living beyond her means. But let her be true to her fans. Let her be true to her fans. It's not bad to admit that. It is not bad to admit that you are having a hard time. Sometimes I want to see from these celebrities. I just want an honest reflection of their life. You don't have to fake a life. They say fake it till you make it, but I don't think it should be that way. I think it should be that you should be an inspiration. Look at the marriage between Simon Cabo and Sarah Cabo. It was all for sure. Then, and now it is only when Sarah Cabo is coming to say that she no longer wants to be a role model. Of course, that is a phrase that is continuously used by Akode. So it seems that celebrities are faking life. They are not living their true lives, and that's why then Azed Nasenya finds herself constantly in having to post being in first class hotels in Dubai, being even going to holiday in Maldives or maybe Miami, Florida. So basically, that is not the life we should be living. I think social media, I think in Australia, teenagers have been banned. Those below 16 years cannot access social media because they say social media has harmful effects on teenagers, and that's why they want Mark Zuckerberg on Instagram to be able to tell, basically, to say that to come up with policies on how they are tackling mental health issues among teenagers. Because you get a kid that is 10 years old telling you that I basically I think I want a therapy. A 10-year-old kid telling you she wants therapy, that he wants therapy, and I think that is why then social media is both a good place. Yes, there are a number of people that find very good opportunities on social media. Some people really sell only through social media. Yes, and I think even as TikTok was about to be banned in the US just before, or on the eve of the swearing in of President Trump, you had about 10 million American businesses get their leads from TikTok. So it can be a good avenue. Social media can be a good avenue in which to make money, but then it is a pressure chamber. It is a pressure cooker for wanting to live the best life, and I don't think that is the way it should be. So, what do you think about Azed Nasenya? What do you think about Azed Nasenya and her faking life? What do you think about Azed Nasenya and her faking life? So that's it about that is social media influencing. I think these people are influencing the brands, but I think they are under pressure to live that kind of a life. So that's it about Azed Nasenya. Then should you be paid by exposure? Should you take payment by exposure and not get paid? This is, of course, a lot of comedians have complained that maybe when they were at churches, they used to be paid maybe only 1,000 shillings, and then the comedians could be expected to perform. They are told, we are giving you a platform so that you can excel. That was it. That is, we are giving you a platform so that you could perform. Of course, Churchill, this is not begrudging Churchill at all. I know to organize an event is very, very expensive, but then some comedians say they were paid too little, and there is nothing as bad as being famous and broke. So you had some comedians, they were really famous, but then they had to take a matatu. They had to plead with the landlord not to throw to throw them out of their houses. So basically, that's just it. So should you be paid by exposure? Should you be paid by exposure and not by money? I think it's not a good thing to be paid by exposure, because remember, no one asks doctors, engineers, accountants to be paid by exposure. So I think we need to develop that. I think there was some, I think it is at cafe that wants artists to perform for free at that cafe, then they will have their drawings on the walls of what cafe. So I don't think it is good at all. I think maybe it sounds on exploitation, but I think there should be ways. At least you should be able to be paid good money. Then of course you get exposure. You should be able to get both exposure. Otherwise, we will tell TV anchors that you are being seen by millions of people. So basically, you will be paid by exposure, but that is not it. We will be telling people to perform for free, so that then you asking, I think, yes, you could do some of it for free, but not always all the time. Basically, you need to be in a form where you will be able to be paid some good money. Otherwise, this payment by exposure, I don't think it's working well, and I think it's really not a time to be able to. I think it's really not a time that we should be encouraging this sort of things, payment by exposure. And then I will move over to politics. Has President William Ruto lost the Mount Kenya vote? That is, as President William Ruto lost the Mount Kenya vote. So basically, it is that President William Ruto got 47% of the vote from Mount Kenya. So you can imagine. I think of his total vote, Mount Kenya accounted for 47%. So you can see he was basically elected on that. That's what made him build Raila only in 2 regions, but then take the overall presidency. That's because of the high voter numbers in central Kenya. So it appears now that Mount Kenya is about to be dislodged from the William Ruto's camp. But then others are saying, of course, there is no unanimous decision on whether Rigathi Gachagua is the de facto Mount Kenya leader. There is no such a thing that Rigathi Gachagua is the de facto Mount Kenya leader. But then it appears that Rigathi Gachagua is really pulling his troops. I think he wants to support Kalonzo Musyoka going forward in the next election. But then is Kalonzo Musyoka formidable enough as President Ruto? Remember, Ruto won the presidency without being outside of power, because yes, he was the deputy president, but the President Uhuru Kenyatta then was campaigning for ODM leader Raila Odinga, who is now seeking the AUC African Union chairperson seat. So basically, you had Uhuru Kenyatta campaigning for Raila Odinga, but then of course everyone thought this is a shoe-in for Raila, but then Ruto worked his way around. I don't know whether he stole votes, I don't know, but then he grabbed power while being outside. Of course, we've had reports that Wafula Chebukati is sick, maybe like Samuel Kivuitu, but I think that basically the thing is that maybe President Ruto has lost the Mount Kenya vote, and that's why he is canvassing all the way in Western, in Nyanza, in Coast, trying to see how he can make up for the Mount Kenya vote. I don't think Kithure Kindiki will be formidable enough to bring a new chunk of votes to President William Ruto. So I think what could happen is that Mount Kenya Kikuus could simply just stop that is turning up to vote. They will simply not turn up to vote. Maybe they don't feel enthusiastic about a Kalonzo candidacy, or maybe a Ruto presidency. So maybe they will not turn around to vote. And I think that is going to be the way of the Mount Kenya vote. But I think that's just a sad note to be. Kenyan politics is organized around kingpins. It is very, very, I think it is a sad note. I don't know if others have a burden for Kenya as some of us have, but to see that for you to be elected president, then you have to have the support of the 5 major tribes, maybe be a kingpin of the Kalenjin, be a kingpin of the Luo, be a kingpin of the Kikuus, be a kingpin of the Luya. So basically, that is how political horse trading is done in Kenya. It is not by it is not done by how articulate your plans and ideas are. Basically, we don't elect people based on the infrastructure plan. We don't elect presidents in Kenya based on their jobs plan. We don't elect candidates in Kenya based on their maybe education plan. We don't do that in Kenya. We elect people based on ethnic whipping of emotions. That is, tribe A has ruled us for so long, or maybe it is our birthright to be president. So basically, ethnic whipping of emotions is how we elect presidents in Kenya, and it has not done as well. We have lost quite a chunk, basically, just trying to. We have lost quite a chunk just trying to maybe make the so-called tribal voting, because we vote based on surname of candidates. We vote based on surname, and that's not a good thing. to be voting based on surname. I don't think it is a good thing. I think it is bad that we are voting based on surname, and that is why then we really need to be vigilant. That we need to return issues. We just need two parties. Why do we have all these briefcase parties in the country? We just need a left of center party that is about equality of opportunity, socialism to speak. People who believe that the worker, you cannot put a watch on a doctor or a nurse or a teacher. That is the socialism, so to speak. And then we have a right of center party, which is pro-business, which is pro-enterprise. And I think that is how a lot of people will believe in pulling up yourself by your own bootstraps. That is the sort of political parties we need in Kenya. We don't need political parties based on tribes, and that's why the difference between the ruling party and the opposition party in Kenya, in Africa, is in tribe and is not in ideology, but in tribe and region where the candidate comes from. That is the difference between the ruling party and the opposition. Look at ODM. They can't seem 1 feet is in government, 1 feet is in the opposition. So you have ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna saying those who are going to continue to clap for the government, for the Ruto government, are going to be kicked out of the party. So you can imagine. So we don't know whether ODM is in opposition or whether it is in government. At least for regarding Gachagua, we know he is out of government. But what of ODM? 1 feet is in government, the other feet is outside government. So basically, I just think we need this to get out of this politics of brinkmanship, politics of tribe, politics of personality cult. Ours is a politics of personality cult. Yes, I agree that you need certain individuals to be strong so that the party can form around them. Of course, you could point out to the Republican Party in America where Donald Trump is very, formidable, but then of course they still have their issues. They have their policies. The Trump is pro-business, but then Kamala Harris was not workers enough, was not pro-work enough. That's why she lost the vote. And so I think that what needs to happen is that we need to return to a politics of ideology and not this politics of brinkmanship, politics of tribe A versus tribe B. That's why elections around Africa are tumultuous periods, because tribe A knows when our man gets in power, then it is our time to eat. Basically, not really the whole tribal members, but the tribal elite gets to eat, and that is why they do horse trading with our lives, with our lives. They do political horse trading with our lives because they know that the quickest way to access money in Africa is through politics, and that's why we must address this issue, that the quickest way to be rich in Africa is to join politics. Look at the way William Kabogo is worth 2.04 billion. Do you know how a company that has a turnover of 2.4 billion, how large it is? It has no less than maybe 500 employees, a company that has a turnover of 2.4 billion. So that's a company that's creating around 500 jobs, 1,000 jobs. But then you find that someone like Mudavadi has 4 billion, and that's just them. What about Raila Odinga? What about the weight of William Ruto? So basically, this is something that we must address in Africa. That is the way to make money in Africa, is to be close to power, and that is crony capitalism that is not doing any justice to us at all. And this is why I think, this is why I beseech the middle class that they should be able to take part in the political discourse of the day. The middle class should be able to take part in the political discourse of the day, so that, because right now the political pact in Africa, the political process is a pact between the super rich who provide the funds and make the rules, and the downtrodden poor who enforce the decisions of the super rich. So basically we are left, the middle class is left out of that political equation, and that's not good at all, because you see in America, look at the middle class. It is the ones that sustains the president. You want to campaign, they look at your policies, and if you are good enough, they fundraise for you. And that's how you get money to run for politics. In fact, they say an American political candidate drops out when he has run out of money from donors. That's when they drop out. So because if you run out of money from donors, then that shows people don't believe in your vision and foresight for the country. But then in Kenya, in Africa, we don't do that. We just get political campaign money from money launderers, from drug dealers. I think it was Fred Matiang'i who said there is a lot of dirty money circulating around in politics. He said nearly all politicians are crooks. Of course, Jubilee wants to place Matiang'i as their 2027 candidate. So they said that nearly all the money is controlling politics. That is, all the money is controlling politics all the money is controlling politics in Kenya. That's according to Fred Matiang'i. So you can imagine, basically, I would think that we need to return to a politics of ideology. The middle class, I think the middle class has finally realized, and this is a good thing, that their insurance cover for a debilitating disease will run out in under 2 weeks. So then they need to have an effective government that can take their issues into play. That is why the middle class had built a parallel state, maybe of private schools, private gated communities, where if there is power blackout, then they can get a generator as a backup, and then of course have private insurance. But then when they get a debilitating disease, that's when they will be forced to sell their farms, sell everything, and then they realize there is nothing as good as a government that works. And probably that is why we need to beseech on the government of President Ruto to deliver on these things. That is why the middle class must participate in the political process. If the middle class participates in the political process, then I think we will have a country to run, a country that is ruled by a rule of law, and I think a country that creates lots of opportunities. Look at the release of the KCSE results. About that is 246,000 students qualified to join universities, but where are the jobs for them? Where are the jobs for these 246,000 students that qualify to join university? They will go and undertake economics, statistics, engineering, medicine, pharmacy. But then when they get out, where are the jobs for them? We are not creating jobs. In fact, businesses are closing down. You had, I think, Cadbury chocolate is no longer manufacturing in Kenya, so they have just maintained a small marketing office in Kenya while the production will be done in South Africa and Egypt. So you can imagine, because the cost of power, the cost of doing business in Kenya is just so high. That is why I think we need a recalibration in the country. Our country is headed in the wrong direction, and if we don't recalibrate, then basically our country is going to be doomed. So basically, I think right now what needs to happen is that we need politics organized around issues around ideology, and I think that's how we are going to be able to resuscitate our political process. So that's it about that is whether the middle class should be involved in Kenyan politics. That is, has Ruto lost the Mount Kenya votes? Then of course I will be looking at what will be Trump's policies for Africa. Africa is a footnote in America's foreign policy. That's what we should know. Africa is a footnote in American foreign policy, and whether it is a Republican or a Democratic administration, usually the policies are just Africa. There is not much that takes place except aid and humanitarian hotspot. Africa is looked as a place of aid and humanitarian hotspots. That's why not much takes place, and I think if that is to be said, then Africa has to do more to become an investment destination, a trade and investment destination. We are the next gold rush after China. That's Africa. We're the next gold rush after China. We have a billion plus market. Basically, if we trade with each other, then we would be able to keep all the profits in Africa. Look at inter-Africa trade, a paltry 10%. That should go all the way up to 50%. We need interconnected highways communication system so that African can travel within Africa. And I think that's one of the resolutions of the AUC chairperson candidate Raila Odinga. And I think Africa is just going to have to pull by its own bootstraps. No one will come to develop Africa. America has lots of its own internal problems. In fact, I think a BBC commentator said that the biggest foreign policy challenge of America are its own internal problems. That's what a BBC commentator said, that the biggest foreign policy challenge of America are its own internal problems. So I think Africa should be able to just pull itself. I should neither lean to the West with its 600-year subjugation of Africans, nor lean to China with its debt-trap diplomacy. Africa should be able to look inwards to itself, and I think if you account for that, then I think the top three African politicians that will have lifted us out of poverty and made us a superpower will start with Kwame Nkrumah. I think, remember, Kwame Nkrumah will seek you as a political kingdom, and everything else shall be added into you. Unfortunately, his young pro-African government was overthrown in a CIA-led coup in 1966 while he was on a trip to China. You had the Afro-Caribbean George Padmore believed so much in the vision of Nkrumah that he thought he would be the one to liberate the black race, and then economic power that of course goes to Thomas Sankara, who I think was the class act in development. He developed so much in Burkina Faso within 4 years, and unfortunately he was killed in a French-backed coup by his friend and compatriot. He was executed by his friend and compatriot backed by France, that is Blaise Compaoré. And I think in social cultural power, then we could have Steve Biko. Steve Biko was basically a black consciousness movement, that black is beautiful, we should celebrate our culture, and everything else shall be okay. So that's it about what is the place of Africa in this what is the place of Africa in the Trump administration. Then finally, can a company be large but also be agile? Can a company be large but also agile? Can a company have the resources of a multinational but yet have the speed and agility of a startup? You have Nokia and Motorola. They were the market leaders in feature phones, but they never developed to be the market leaders in smartphones. That was taken up with the likes of Apple and Samsung. And then of course you have IBM being the market leader of the personal computing hardware, but it never developed to be the leader in personal computing software. That was taken up by Microsoft. And then Microsoft itself was the leader in personal computing software, never developed to be the market leader in internet sites. That was taken up by I think by Google, and Google itself was the market leader in search and internet, but never developed to be the market leader in social media. That was taken up by the likes of Facebook, X, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, and of course they will not be the market leaders in 3D augmented reality, or a person across the screen will seem as though they are in the same room as you. But then of course I think for capitalists, they say this is great. The fact that a $1 trillion company can be taken down, the fact that a $1 trillion company can be taken down, that shows that capitalism is working in reassigning resources. That shows that capitalism is working in reassigning resources. But then of course you have $1 billion, but then for a business leader this is scary. This is really scary for a business leader, basically, because even with tons of cash, with piles of cash, basically they are not assured they will be the leader in the upcoming industry. Look at the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Look at now AI, where now a Chinese company DeepSync is basically creating lots of problems for Silicon Valley. So basically, I think Africa has to be able to. I think a company has to be able to be large but also agile. It's a very difficult thing to achieve, but maybe what companies could do, maybe spin off their R&D department so that then you have so that then you have maybe the R&D team, the research team report directly to the CEO so that then they can create the right kind of framework, the right kind of avenue so that then decisions go, and then of course maybe they have a claim to the patent, so maybe they will be earning royalties. That's how Google at some point had one day off of the week for workers to work on their own personal projects, but I think maybe it was done away with, and so of course they saw some projects go down, such as Google Plus, which was supposed to be I think X and Facebook combined, but then it never gained traction despite $1 billion being pumped into it. And so basically, that's how I think. So, do you think a company can be large but also agile? Can a company have the resources of a multinational but yet have the speed and agility of a startup? So, you let me know in the comment section. So, now you can get my two books. One of them is the 1% Continent, How Africa can rise up, and that is from poverty to prosperity and maybe be a superpower in the world. Of course, that seems far-fetched, but then get that book, and then you can preview the first 20 pages for free. Just look in the description box. And then the other book is Give Us Your Best and Brightest, Why Are Africa's Best Friends Living? Give us your best and brightest, why are Africa's best friends living? So during slavery, we lost our most physically able, but now in the knowledge age, we are losing our most gifted. So this is $1 trillion costing us tens of trillions in each occasion. So basically, that's it for now. That's it for now. So make sure you like and subscribe. You make sure you like, share, and subscribe so that then we can continue doing this thing for long. So now, bye for now. Till the next time. Bye for now.